Well, today is skating day. Okay, so let's talk about our ornament today. So as you can see, it's the little felt skates. This is one of the decorations or ornaments, and actually designed the pattern on it. And I had never heard of this before till Anne talked about it. So you're actually using paper clips for the blades on the skate. So I made a pair of figure skates, and it's using felt, and I put some batting in there and pearl cotton for the laces. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I've got some samples partially done here, and we're going to step through so we know how to do our little figure skates or hockey skates. Okay, so I have in various states, I've given you two patterns. This is the small skate. This is a pattern that Anne drafted. I've also given you a larger skate. This is 80% of the larger one. So if you want to use cardstock for the little ones, use the larger one. This is perfect, fits the paper clips. These are the jumbo paper clips that I got at, I think, at the dollar store. 50 millimeters. So keep in mind that if you use the large pattern, you could actually use pipe cleaners to do the blade of the skate. Okay, so I just put it on. Now this is, I've taken the pattern and folded it straight out. We could have put it on the fold here and cut out two. Just seemed to work better. I could get more maximize my felt. So I've just pinned that, cut it out, and I've used felt for this. But you could use cork, we could use craft tex, anything that has a bit of body to it. So now I folded this in half, and I actually pinned it. So what you're going to want to do is stitch up the back here, and I tend to use a very fine thread. Move my pins out of the way. And I'm just using a Deco Bob from Wonderfill. And I just stitch up the back. Okay, and I'm just stitching it up, trying to not unthread my needle. I like using a very small needle. I don't know if they can see that. Tiny, tiny. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very small needle. Now I have this kind of needle threader for my needles. This is a clover one. You can even cut your thread with that one. Challenge of always threading something on camera. Okay. So you're going to stitch up the back of this. And the nice thing about the Deco Bob thread, which is an 80 weight, or the Invisifill, which is 100 weight, it's actually a very, very strong thread. Because you're going to put a bit of tension on this when we fill it, or when we stuff your skate.
I always ask you, could you use machine sew and flip inside out?
You know what? I would not flip outside, but machine sewing, yes, I would absolutely do it. Because it's felt, I would just use a decorative stitch up here. You can do a straight stitch. You could even pink your edges. Because it's felt, I wouldn't flip it inside out, but if you're using cotton, absolutely. So you would still do the same process. You want to stitch the back of the skate first. I'll get up to the end and I'll tie off. And keep in mind, when I started it, I knotted my thread and I only went through one layer of felt and then whip stitched over top so that you're not hanging out here. And I use a double knot because I've had too many things come undone. There we go. Okay. So now what I would do is I would actually start stitching, and you only want to go to about right there. Going to stitch right up to there and then knot off. Then what you want to do is we're going to cut out our batting. So this is a black one. It's a little harder today, but I wanted to make a pair of hockey skates. Hence the flames guy over here, right? So I've stitched with my black deco ball up the back. And I have stitched from here to there. Now it doesn't really matter when you put your paper clip in. It's actually easier to have it out when you're hand stitching. That way it doesn't get caught in there. And it just easily inserts that way. The first couple times I did this, I kind of bent this out a bit, but then I couldn't bend it back in. So just leave it the way it is, wiggle it in. It looks like a blade. So now that you've stitched up to this point here, and take your batting, I'll just take this out. Now I've only used one layer of this fiber fill. And I actually just put my skate on top, did a rough cut around it. You're going to stuff more into this once you've got everything together. But to get it going, I found it was easier to stuff it when this side is open. Okay, so I've kind of got that stuffed in. Be careful with your fiber fill because it'll get on the black. And if you have one of those lint brushes, you can get it off. Just try to avoid it. Okay, so now we're ready. Don't take very long. Probably took me an hour to make a pair of figure skates. So, okay. So our next step is to actually put the holes in so we can lace it up. And of course I use my most favorite tool. I get the first one that comes in the order, the perfect punch. And what I did to figure out which hole, I just made sure I could take my, now I'm using a pearl cotton for the laces, that I could actually get that through the hole. So that's how I measured it. Now of course we have many different flosses that we want to use. I was using a pearl cotton. This is a 5 weight. So remember, the lower the number, the fatter the thread is. This is a 5. And we also have an 8. So what I did is I picked 2 identical die lots. I don't know if we can see how thick this is. This is a 5 weight. There you go. You can see how thick this is, right? Now, if I take the 8 weight, you can see how much thinner the thread is. And you think, you know what, an 8 weight pearl cotton is typically fairly thick. Compared to a 5, an 8 weight looks skinny. So I just want you to see that difference there. Okay, so I brought this to my cutting board, used my perfect punch. First thing I did is I did a hole right here, right in the toe of the skate, and then I started at the top. So I did one at the toe and one at the top, and this one I only put 5 holes in it. My figure skates I put 6 in it. I'm not sure why I did that, but I did. Okay. So I can go ahead on this one here. I'm going to punch the holes in it just so we can see clearer. So this would be sewn up to here. So let me put my pin there. So that's the toe of your skate. So I wanted my first eyelet for right here. God, I love this tool. And then I went up top. Yeah. Now if you're OCD like me, you can measure them to make sure they're equal distance, but this is an ornament. Okay. Let's go here. And so I'm going to put one right here. So that one's only got 5 in there. Make sure they punch through. There we go. So let's go back to my hockey skate. I am now ready to lace this up. And as I have already said, I obviously am challenged at lacing up skates. But here's the trick that I did. Let me get my needles out of the way. Okay, so I took 2 of my tapestry needles. These are 22s. So I took a length of pearl cotton as long as my arm. Okay? That's always a good measure. Shouldn't go longer than that. And I threaded each end. Because when you have shoelaces, the end of your shoelace, now you know what, I couldn't remember the name, I'm sure somebody does. It's how you have hard plastic on there. I don't know if it's called a tine, the top of your shoelace. We don't have this with the pearl cotton, and I'm not going to put tape around there. But using 2 needles to help lace up your skate worked like a charm. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put some stuff here. Let's take this green one. Okay. So let's start lacing up our skate. And so you need something to hold it up. This is a good thing to have your significant other help, your kids, assuming they can sit that long. And I just want to make sure that my threads are about the same length. No different than your shoelaces. I'm just going to bring that through a bit. There we go. Okay. So, first set is through there. Now I want to go into my second hole. So, around and in. Let's take my other. Okay, let's go through here. Okay. So now that I've done that stitch, am I going to go out and in again? So look what happened here. So you can tell where I cut this out. But on this side, my hole has not come through. Oh, there you go. I just stuck my needle in. And I can get it out. Well, let's check my other hole here. Sometimes the hole punch, depending on the thickness of your fabric, it'll cut, but it won't completely cut the hole out. So let's go from the outside in. You can see where another person helping you would. Or get a table vise, that'll work too, right? I remember my daughter took figure skating when she was little. Oh, I did not like doing up those skates. So out to the in. Out to the in. Ooh, very nice looking lace. Okay, and then the top one. Out to the end. Up to the end. Okay, so I now have my skate. So what I would do now is that I would tie it. I would leave my needles on just for this part. There we go. Okay, so I put a little bow tie. Now I just want to make sure that my bows are even. Okay, so now I can take out my needles. So what I want to do now is put a little extra batting in here. And I would just take small pieces. So let's get that toe done, because that's usually what is missing. Now, yes, I'm using my scissors for this. There we go. So now you could top this. We could glue something on here. You can put anything else you want on here. And feel free to use different colored pearl cotton. I brought some beautiful stuff from Wonderful. Everybody knows I love Wonderful threads. So I've got the orange for Leah, red for me. Well, the purple's for me too. Pink for Leah, but you know what? I love pink too. Since Leah's not here today, these are my colors. There. And those are all 8 weight. So you could do that. What I did with my white ones. Now these aren't as stuffed as the hockey skates. I felt like the hockey skates wanted to be have a little bit more body to them. As you can see, these are Anne's colors. So I did a bow on the top, and then I tied the 2 together because you always have a pair of skates. Go. And that's it. That's how you do that. So no sewing machine required, but you could easily sew that up to there, and then do the punch, and then lace them up. You'll notice that my skates, I have 2 different types of lacing style, because I couldn't figure out how to do that. There we go. Now I did talk about using the pearl cotton, but there are other things that we can use for the laces. We have a metallic cording in here. That would be beautiful. Got a beautiful shimmer with it. And you'd want to use the biggest punch, which is the 4 millimeters. That comes in here. Now that this has some stiffness to it, so I can, yep, it goes through. Oh, there's all these holes that we've been punching for the last 2 weeks, right? It goes through fine. Because remember, when you're lacing them up, you'll have to get 2 in there. So we have the metallic red. And we also have this is called rat tail cord. It's a beautiful rayon. It's just luscious. My favorite color, purple. And they would make gorgeous laces. Now, if you're doing the larger skates, say you're using the cardstock on it, if you use just a standard hole punch for your kids, this would easily fit in. And I would just put a little sparkle, luscious. This is rayon. Rayon's a beautiful color. Colors are rich on rayon. So, I think that's everything for today. Woohoo! I want everybody to stay safe. Go ahead. Stay calm and be kind. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll see you all on Tuesday. Bye-bye.